You won't believe what this single-dad veteran did in court that left even the arrogant billionaire speechless. Stay with me till the end, because this story will move you, and remind you never to judge someone by their appearance. And hey, if stories about real courage and redemption touch your heart, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more powerful life stories. The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of polished shoes tapping against the marble floor. Across the room sat Ethan Cole, a billionaire developer known for his ruthless attitude, and beside him stood Daniel Brooks, a single father and decorated war veteran. But if you walked in that day without context, you'd think Ethan was the hero, clean suit, confident smirk, and Daniel was the broken man, sleeves rolled up, a limp in his right leg, and a worn-out file in his hand. Daniel wasn't there to seek fame or money. He was there to fight for his home, a small, old house on a piece of land that had belonged to his late father, who built it with his own hands after returning from Vietnam. But the land was in the way of Ethan's new luxury project, a modern skyscraper that would add another feather to his billionaire crown. Your Honor, Ethan's lawyer began arrogantly, Mr. Brooks is trespassing on property that now legally belongs to Cole Enterprises. He refuses to vacate despite multiple notices. We request immediate eviction. The billionaire sat back, smirking, arms crossed. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Daniel rose slowly, his uniform jacket a little too big now, metals catching the faint light from the window. Your Honor, he began, voice low but steady, that house is more than just walls and bricks. It's where my father raised me. It's where I taught my son to walk. And it's the only place I've had since coming back from service. The courtroom murmured. Ethan rolled his eyes. Sentimental stories don't change property law, he muttered loudly enough for everyone to hear. The law is the law. But what happened next would turn everything upside down. The judge, an older woman named Justice Monroe, looked at Daniel thoughtfully. Mr. Brooks, do you have any documents proving your father's ownership? Daniel nodded and handed over a faded envelope. Inside were old papers, yellowed by time, a deed signed decades ago. Ethan's lawyer scoffed, outdated and irrelevant, Your Honor. But then Daniel pulled out something else, a photograph. In it, a younger man stood next to Daniel's father, both wearing hard hats, smiling as they placed a wooden sign that read, Brooks Family Home, built with honor. Justice Monroe examined it quietly. Then Daniel spoke again, his voice trembling slightly. My father built that home with the help of a local community program. It was meant to stay in the family for generations. I came back from war to raise my son there after losing my wife. I've done everything right, but somehow, my service means less than a billionaire's paperwork. Ethan laughed lightly. Look, Mr. Brooks, the world doesn't owe you anything because you went to war. Maybe you should learn how the real world works. The entire room froze. Even the judge frowned. Daniel's son, Jake, only 8 years old, sat in the back row, clutching a small model airplane his dad had carved from wood. His lip trembled as he heard Ethan mock his father. That's when Daniel looked back at him, and something inside him changed. He turned toward Ethan and said calmly, You're right, Mr. Cole. The world doesn't owe me anything. But you owe the men and women who fought for your freedom a little respect. He then reached into his bag and pulled out a worn, folded American flag, one that had been handed to him at his best friend's funeral. Overseas. The courtroom went silent again as he held it up. This flag isn't about politics or power. It's about sacrifice. My friend gave his life protecting the rights of people like you, to build, to dream, to succeed. But not to destroy the dreams of others. Ethan's smirk faltered. For the first time, he had nothing to say. Justice Monroe leaned forward. Mr. Cole, she said firmly, are you aware that your company's acquisition of the Brooks property may have violated the original Veteran Housing Protection Clause under the old state grant program? Ethan blinked. His lawyer looked panicked. That can't be possible, he stammered. Daniel didn't gloat. He simply stood there, steady and proud. I don't want revenge, he said softly. I just want to keep the home where my family still lives. The judge nodded. Then that's exactly what you'll do. With a firm bang of the gavel, she ruled in Daniel's favor, the land was to remain his. Ethan's company would face an audit for unlawful acquisition practices. Gasps filled the courtroom as reporters scribbled down notes. But the story didn't end there. Outside the courthouse, as Daniel held his son's hand, Ethan approached him, this time without the smirk. His voice was low, almost human. "I didn't know about the clause, or what your family went through." Daniel just nodded. "Most people don't. But you can always choose to learn before you destroy." That day, Ethan did something no one expected. He halted construction on another controversial project nearby and announced the creation of a Veterans Housing Foundation, donating millions to help soldiers transition back into civilian life. When reporters asked him what changed his heart, Ethan simply said, "A man with nothing reminded me what real wealth looks like." Months later, Daniel's little home stood stronger than ever. The porch had been repaired, and a small plaque by the gate read, "In honor of those who build not just houses but hope." Jake played in the yard, laughing, his father watching him with quiet pride. For once, peace didn't feel like a distant dream. And Ethan Cole. He visited often, not as a billionaire above the law, but as a man learning humility from someone who had already paid life's highest price. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that no amount of wealth can buy honor, and no act of kindness ever goes unseen. Because sometimes, the strongest men are the ones who stand quietly for what's right.